I'm the son of an engineer. I painted and drew a body of work my last sabbatical based on the ammeters and voltmeters from the 20th century that he collected. My mother studied Spanish. On a 1950 trip to Mexico, she picked up this postcard, a Mexican revolutionary by Diego Rivera, the muralist, which was in the home as I was growing up. Now in the 1950s, Lord Snow wrote an essay, The Two Cultures, claiming that the arts and the sciences had become so complex they could no longer communicate. But I started running into an old friend whose father had been a poet at conferences on computers and society. So maybe the tech is what brings us together. I was the kid who always drew. I drew from life and classical observation, but also comics, exaggeration, emphasis of certain points, and economy of line and value. I organized with my art gang in high school in order to get access to the school Ditto copy machine, then worked on the college humor magazine. I acquired graphic design skills from putting together the school paper, and then later worked on various community newspapers in San Francisco that I also did illustration and political cartoons for. And that led to a political cartoon biography of George Orwell. I also painted on walls in high school, later in college, and had the opportunity to study with Michigan's greatest muralist, the late John Onye Lockard. I hightailed it to California. I painted housing projects in the jail, in neighborhoods, and with youth of various backgrounds. I got a gig as a muralist for the San Francisco Art Commission. And at age 25, I felt I had the responsibility of being an official artist for a great American city. Now, the projects, a dozen projects I worked on in my 20s, were painted out by the time I hit 33. But I'm proud I came up with a process that allowed an artist, whose expertise is in giving form, visual form to ideas, working with a community or neighborhood who are the subject matter experts, who know their world, what imagery they want to live with. And I called this the tennis game because it bounced back and forth each step of the way. The one who could take on the responsibility best, make best use of skills and understanding, was taking charge of that step of the process. So I saw the artist as sort of like a consulting engineer. Now, a friend of mine said, you know, you should take this graphics job we're doing about that teaches electronics, because our next modules are going to be done on the computer. And I thought, hey, getting paid to learn this new field of computer graphics. I like the thought of that. I soon discovered that my art style worked with the limitations of the computers of the time, like the Apple II, when pixels were the size of sugar cubes and you only had 3 or 4 colors to work with. I was able to convey multicultural California that I saw around me. Now, I ended up at Apple, This was after Steve Jobs had been booted out, before he heroically won back his company. And times were fat. If a meeting went to 12:01, administrative assistant sent out for sushi. So it's been called the Silicon Valley's grad school because you just learn so much every day if you're in a tech corporation. I really encourage my students to get themselves into a tech corporation because when you're surrounded with all those very smart people, you really grow, you continue learning. And even though the products that I designed, animated on-screen training for, tanked in the marketplace, I still consider it a very valuable time. However, I also started doing murals again, got commissioned for hospital in San Francisco. It could be very complex because the people were all in chairs or gurneys. And though I had a degree in painting, I went back and got one in conceptual design, a program that encouraged computer use and technology in non-traditional art forms, including Apple HyperCard, which was a very interesting way to build online apps, and I saw it as a creative tool. Here, rethinking Huckleberry Finn and updating it, and a coder making the chapters come in random order. But the computer industry, it goes through its changes, and it got unfun. I wasn't laid off, though a year later, 11 of the dozen people I worked with had left or were laid off. So I got off the merry-go-round, and I thought, okay, what are my roots? What do I have to really build on and to cultivate my garden that's uniquely mine? Now, one of the perks when I was at Apple was we were sent to many conferences. We interacted with people from the MIT Media Lab. And its director, Nicholas Negroponte, was talking at the time about the three spheres, intersecting circles that he saw coming together of print and publication and movies and TV and the computer. And I thought, okay, I like that idea, that Venn diagram. What would mine be? And I thought, okay, I like this tech. Oh, I know that's going to be part of the mix. The community murals, the idea of democratizing art, that the artwork that people have a hand in its development, and then the comics, the economy of line and drawing. How do those fit together? And I started to think, maybe those overlaps would be creating new genres, new kinds of community art machines. So I started doing kiosks, interactive kiosks, almost like they're fragments of the murals I want to do, that you could just touch an image and up would spring interactive information. So I did one, The Trial of James Brown, as he was having, the great singer was having legal problems. The road story, Huckle Fine, I put in a Cadillac, and my college memoirs I put in the head of Daniel Webster. Also thought about collaboration in all its forms. The garage of Hewlett and Packard, or Steve Wozniak, Steve Jobs, the garage of Great Michigan Garage Bands, and the community mural collaborative process. Here this boy is assembling neighborhood images from a neighborhood's changing history and putting them together on the screen in a virtual mural. Now, when Steve Wozniak left Apple, he decided he wanted to teach kids. I thought maybe I should try that. So I did a course in comics for kids. And I continued consulting IBM Almaden Research Center, which is in a mountain south of San Jose, like a James Bond villain's secret fortress, and some icons for Adaptec. And Cisco was a good client, buying new companies, continually needing their web pages revised, which was something new. I also started teaching, was a road warrior, teaching in storefront schools that were springing up, and several programs of San Francisco State University, as well as starting to present and attend conferences. I met someone at a conference whose business card said University Center, Michigan. And I thought, wow, that place must have better bookstores than Lansing or Ann Arbor. And I interviewed with Dean Bashand, and we were up in the second floor looking down on the big Marshall Frederick sculptures. I figured, well, this means we should think big if we end up here. And I got a position, a dual appointment, that satisfied both high-tech part of me in the graduate program and high touch in the art department. The graduate program I liked, so it had a real international component, students from Asia, the Middle East, and Michigan. I got a mural course going, and my students did projects in Good Neighbors Mission, in the Saginaw Juvenile Detention Facility, Correctional Facility, Saginaw High, and Zion Lutheran Church, a painted project. So we worked both in digitally designed projects as well as painted. With some collaborators at the university, we came up with the BAT project to reinvent urban communities. Business, art, and theater students all working together to make an impact, including this banner on the Dow Event Center. So I ran into my grad advisor at a conference. He asked how I was doing. I said, great, I got to make all my mistakes on your dime. I thought, this place, I've got to present my work to a committee that has people from the sciences and nursing and business. So I returned to my roots, my 3 C's, and it made sense. I got over. Now, I was excited about virtuality back in the day when it was real clunky. The iPhones were huge, the data glove, and cables connected to refrigerators under the tablecloth. Now, oh yeah, I was then still coming up with projects for it based on Mexican art and promoting the idea of really rich mural-like virtual interiors. But now, SVSU students are working with Oculus Rift devices. Microsoft has the HoloLens. Google has Google Glass and Cardboard, turning a phone into augmented realities. So suddenly I'm excited about the idea of artistic apps again. I see how these affect a curriculum, can influence a curriculum. Drawing is the first essential, and I believe figurative drawing and drawing from life is the way to build the skills. I tell students that I want all my students, I want to come out of SVSU able to draw anything they want. And I believe that The kid who can draw will always have a job in the tech industry among scientists who want to see their ideas visualized quickly. Graphic design is essential. Figure and ground, word and image. And just as my friends and I back in the day used to make Super 8 movies, this is the time that anyone can make a movie, tell their own story, new forms of narrative. There's a movie out that was entirely shot on an iPhone. So it's a great time for that. My students have done comics. Here are some of our anthologies. The last one is found online. And I get calls from California and downstate clients, cartoon illustrations, pattern drawings, and I'm starting to examine my own autobiography in comics. The last murals I did for a little family company that spun off from a large chemical company in Midland. One side of the hallway is the arts. The other side of the hallway, an allegory of the sciences. So in Michigan, they can harmoniously come together. You probably think I'm like a guy with a hammer for whom everything looks like a nail. I found an organizing principle for my life, for my work, when I needed one. And I believe that a job of someone teaching art or creative media is to help students find theirs, and then we provide the skills for them to manifest it, for them to realize it. Also, when you're confused, stop, take your breath, follow your bliss, follow that which attracts you. Look inside. And for students, follow your nose to what you think is cool. Find yourself among smart people who are doing things like app development, and convince them why you should be somebody, a paid member of their team. That way, you'll find what you need that will allow your heart to take wings, soar, take you to places you didn't know you'd end up. Thanks.